Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial video where we will be talking about cubes and nets. Now, every year I work with students towards the 11 plus exam, and I would say pretty much every year without exception, the cubes and the nets questions are the ones that sort of throw people most and confuse people quite a lot. And rightly so, they can be pretty tricky. Okay, so what we're going to do today is talk about the best way of solving them, the best way of approaching them, and I've broken it down into 3 steps, and I really want you to memorize and really think about these 3 steps. Okay, so like with every other video, make sure that if any of the steps are confusing, just rewatch, try, practice as many times as you need to until it clicks. Okay, because if you master this 3-step process that I'm about to show you, it's going to make your life a lot easier with these cube and net questions. Okay, so what are these 3 steps? First step is to eliminate any opposites. Might not make that much sense at the moment, but don't worry, it will in a minute. Eliminate any opposites. Step 2, eliminate any inconsistencies. Again, don't worry right now what that means. It will make sense in a minute. And the final step is to do some further analyzing. Okay, so we've got 3 steps. Now, as we go through this video, these 3 steps are going to become very clear. Okay, what we're going to do is, before we talk about the steps, I'm just going to show you 2 types of nets. So we've got the net on the left, ignore that for a second, the net on the left and the net on the right. And these 2 net types are the most frequently, most often used net types in exams. These are the ones we want to get used to. Okay, so we've got this net type, which is like a capital T, and this net type, which is like a lowercase t. Now, within these nets, you might be familiar with these questions, but within these nets, you get shapes. So you might get a triangle, you might get a circle, you might get a square. Do excuse my drawing. You might get a squiggly line, you might get an arrow, and you might get some diagonal lines. And then what you need to do is pick from 5 different options the cube that can be made from this net. Okay, and that can be pretty tricky. All right, but if we follow these 3 steps, we're going to give ourselves a very good chance. Now, the first step is forget about these shapes. Okay, you see these shapes inside the net, we're going to forget about them for a minute. They are important, obviously, but for now, let's forget they exist. Instead, let's imagine numbers. Okay, and the numbers are like this. We have number 4, number 1, number 5, and number 6, going downwards. 4, 1, 5, 6. And on the outsides, we have number 2 and we have number 3. Okay, so 4, 1, 5, 6 going down the middle, 2 and 3 on the outsides. Okay, it's exactly the same for this net. So 4, 1, 5, 6, and on the outsides we have 2 and 3. Now, obviously the shapes within the net, so the circle, the triangle, the square, all these shapes here are very important, but for now, forget about them. Let's try to memorize these numbers. Okay, so we've got 4, 1, 5, 6 down the middle, 2 and 3. If it helps you, maybe pause the video and try memorizing these numbers. Maybe look away from the screen and try saying the numbers aloud, but please remember these numbers. Okay, now the next thing I want to show you is, I'm going to have to minimize my screen for this. The next thing that I want to show you is these nets. They might be shown to you this way, but they might also be shown to you upside down like that, yeah, or on the side like this. All right, it doesn't matter, it's still an uppercase T. Yeah, so whether it's upside down or whether it's on its side, if you can see an upside down T, if you can see a capital letter T, then what I'm saying right now is applicable. Okay, so don't be confused by how the shape is rotated. Same for that one. Okay, it doesn't matter how it's rotated. If it's a lowercase t, everything we're talking about today is applicable. Okay, and please remember, these are the 2 net types that you're going to be challenged on. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of these numbers. We've got 4, 1, 5, 6, 2, and 3. I'm now going to get rid of these numbers and ask if you can tell me which number belongs in each of these sections. Okay, so say it before I write it. Which number should be here? It's a 4. Which number should be here? It's a 1. Which number should be here? We've got 5. And then down the bottom, we've got 6. On the sides, we've got 2 and 3. We're going to see why pretty soon these numbers are important, okay? But let me quickly show you this next step. Okay, so we've now memorized 4, 1, 5, 6 down the middle and 2 and 3 on the outside. It's time to memorize something else, okay? And it might seem like there's a lot to remember, but I promise you, actually, we can memorize this very quickly. I promise you. It seems a lot, but it isn't. Once you get used to it, it will stick with you, okay? So the next thing I want you to remember are the opposite pairs. So 1 and 6, 2 and 3, 4 and 5. These are the opposite pairs. What do I mean by that? Well, let's write those numbers out again. So 4, 1, 5, 6, and then on the outside 2 and 3. So when we talk about opposite pairs, what I mean is 1 and 6, so this one and this one will always be opposite each other on the cube, always, okay? And then we have 2 and 3, so this one and this one, doesn't matter how you fold that cube up, they're going to be opposite each other, okay? And then finally, 4 and 5, so this one and this one, they too will be opposite each other on the cube. Why is that important? Well, if we go to this next screen here, if we know that 2 shapes need to be opposite each other, that means we should not see them together on a cube. So look at these cubes. If we see any opposite pairs both at the same time, if we can see them both, that means they're not opposite each other, okay? Which means that answer must be wrong. So if it isn't clear what I'm talking about, it will be in a minute, okay? And remember, we've only done step 1 at the moment. We're on eliminating the opposites. Okay, so I'm going to solve this question in front of you. My first step is to write the numbers out. So I've got 4, 1, 5, and 6. And on the outside, I've got 2 and 3. Now, when it comes to the exam, you don't have to write these numbers on the question sheet. You'll probably remember them, okay? But I'm writing them on the question sheet just to illustrate to you, okay? But my advice is to memorize them. Okay. Now, my step 1 is to eliminate any opposites. So I'm looking for which one of these cubes can be made out of this net on the left-hand side here. Okay. So my first step is to eliminate any opposites. Well, if we look at, let's go for the A, can we see any opposites? Well, we know that 1 and 6, this one and this one, are opposites. 1 and 6 are opposite numbers. So we've got the plane section and the line section, the section with the diagonal lines. They should be opposite each other. We shouldn't be able to see them both. And here we can see them both, which means that A must be wrong. So I can rule out A. You know what I'm going to do really quickly? I do apologize that I haven't done this. I'm just going to remind you of the opposites. So we've got 1 and 6, 4 and 5, 2 and 3. Okay. Let's now look at B. So B, do we have any opposites here? We've got 2 and 3. We've got that circle and the hexagon. Yeah, they should be opposite. We know that 2 and 3 are opposites. They should be opposite. So we should not be able to see the black circle and the hexagon together. If we can see them together, they're not opposite, which means the answer is wrong. They need to be on the opposite sides. Okay. Option C doesn't have any opposites. Option D, does it have any opposites? Nope. Option E, does it have any opposites? Yes, it does. We've got number 6 and number 1. 1 and 6. We've got the blank section with nothing, and we've got the diagonal line section. They should be opposite each other. We should not be able to see them both, okay? Which means E is wrong. And that's it. So we've done step one, which is to eliminate the opposites. And that's by far the step with the most effort. Okay. Once we've done that, though, look, we've only got 2 options left. So even if we had to guess at this point, we've gone from a 20% chance, a 1 in 5 chance, to a 50-50 chance, which means guessing we've got 50% chance. Okay. But we don't have to guess because we've still got 2 steps to do. And step 2 is to eliminate any inconsistencies. What does that mean? Well, it means eliminate any options where there is a shape that appears on the cube that doesn't appear on the net. Or it might mean that there's an object that appears on the cube twice that doesn't appear on the net twice. So these are inconsistent. These are things that don't happen on the net but do happen in the cube. And if you look at C, it's got 2 blank spaces. The net only has 1 blank space. So this is inconsistent. So we can get rid of C. And we're left with the correct answer. So we didn't actually look for the correct answer. We looked for the wrong answers and we got rid of the wrong answers and we left ourselves with the correct answer. And we can say, because we followed the steps properly, we know that this is the correct answer. You might want to check it just to be sure, but don't spend too much time checking it because you've ruled out things that are really obvious. Okay, so we know what the answer is. The answer is D. Let's quickly talk about step 3, even though we can't apply it to this question because we don't need to do any more analyzing. But step 3, when it says further analyzing, if you've gone through step 1 and step 2 and have more than 1 option left, it just means we need to look at the options that we do have left and just see if we can notice anything that seems odd when compared to the net, which we'll do later on in this video. Okay, so let's look at the next question. All right, here's our next one. So step 1, and please follow these steps, okay? Make sure we do these steps in this order. It's the fastest way, I promise, okay? So step 1 is to eliminate any opposites. So we've got number 4, number 1, number 5, and number 6. And like I said, if we do this enough, we'll memorize these numbers so we don't have to write them out on an exam paper, okay? All right, 1 and 6 are opposites, 4 and 5 are opposites, 2 and 3 are opposites. But are there any opposites in these cube options? Now, there might be some questions where there won't be any opposites. There might be some questions where there are 4 opposites, okay? You don't know what you're going to get, but always check for them. So if we look at option A, can you see that we've got 4 and 5? We've got that rectangle and we've got these 2 squares with a rectangle on top. 4 and 5 appear in option A. Look, there's number 5 and there's number 4. They should be opposite each other. So A must be wrong. And the same can be said for B. The same too. Yeah, we've got number 4 and number 5. We can get rid of B. Let's look at C. Does C have any opposites? Yes, it does. We've got 1 and 6. 1 with the 3 circles and 6 with 2 squares. They should be opposite each other and they are not. In D, we've got 2 and 3. We've got the grey circle and the white blank space. Okay, they should be opposite each other, not next to each other. These wrong. And we have left ourselves with an answer, 1 option. We know it must be correct. It must be E. E doesn't have any opposites. It doesn't require any further analyzing because we've already ruled out all the options. But let's just analyze anyway to make sure. So if we consider that this cube here has this one on top, so the number 5 on top, so this one needs to be on top. Now imagine, try to imagine this in your head, that this section is flattened down so it's on top. You know that if that was the case, this one would be directly under it and therefore at the front, just like it is here. Okay, now if we do move this one down so that it's flat at the top, this one here is going to fall down with it. Can you imagine that? Imagine this one being flattened down so it's on top. This one here is going to naturally fall down next to it, like we see over here. Okay, so sometimes it takes a bit of imagining, but it's okay. You rarely have to imagine 5 different scenarios. You don't have to do that much imagining because many times we can get rid of inconsistent ones, we can get rid of opposite ones, and maybe sometimes we have to analyze a couple of them, but if we follow these steps, we don't have to do that much analyzing. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so firstly, eliminate any opposites. All right, so this time let's not write the numbers. let's not write the numbers onto the net, but what we will do is we'll write the opposites. So we've got 1 and 6, 4 and 5, 2 and 3. But I'm not going to write them on the net because hopefully we can remember the order now. Yeah. Okay. So does this one have any opposites? Yes. Have a look at that side and have a look at that side. We've got a number 2 and a number 3. Yeah, they should be opposite. They should not be next to each other, which means we can get rid of A. And then we've got B. Have a look. We've got 1 and 6. Get rid of it. And then we've got C. Do we have any opposites? Doesn't look like we do, does it? Let's leave C for now. We might have to analyze it further in a minute, but we'll leave it alone for now. Then let's look at D. Does it have any opposites? Nope, no opposites. Let's look at E. Does it have any opposites? Yes, it does. 2 and 3 should not appear next to each other on the cube, but it does here. All right. Do we have to do some analyzing? Well, let's see if we can eliminate any inconsistencies first. So, does everything on this cube appear on this net? Yes, it does. Okay, so we can't eliminate this option based on step 2. It's not inconsistent. Okay, however, let's look at option D. Does it have any inconsistencies? Yes, it does. Don't be fooled by this. Okay, this gets a lot of students. This side here and this side here are similar, but they're different, aren't they? We've got this cross here, and we've got a cross here, but this cross is more like the plus sign cross. Yeah. This cross over here is like an X. So they look similar. So it can throw you and confuse you at first, but they're not the same. So we can get rid of D. And we're left with the answer. We've gone through 2 steps. And again, we're treating this question type as if we're looking for all the wrong answers and getting rid of them and leaving ourselves with the right answer. And of course, what you can do is once you've left with the right answer, if you've got the time, analyze it, compare it to the net. Does it all seem to fit together? Does it work? And if it does, you know you're right. But try not to spend too long doing that. If you're confident that you've got rid of 4 options that it definitely can't be, why spend too long analyzing something that you know to be true? I understand that you might want to be certain, but you can be, if you follow these 2 steps properly, you can be certain. Okay. All right. One more question, and then it's your go. So the final question. This one is going to involve more analyzing. So you'll get questions where you can rule out 4 options based on step 1, but sometimes we can't, and we have to do a bit more analyzing. So we're going to try it with this question, okay? So this time I'm not going to put the opposite numbers up. I'm not going to number the net. Hopefully we'll remember what the numbers are. Let's have a look. Do we have any opposites here? No. Do we have any opposites here? No, we don't. Do we have any opposites here? Yes, we do. We've got 4 and 5. We've got the dotted line and the arrow. They should not be next to each other. So let's get rid of C. Do we have any opposites with D? Nope. Do we have any opposites with E? No, we don't. All right, so this happens sometimes, okay? Sometimes we can only rule out one option. Still, we've gone from a 20% chance to a 25% chance. So we've done ourselves some favors. A 1 in 4 chance now rather than 1 in 5 chance if we had to guess, but we don't have to guess, okay? But if we do, we've given ourselves a better chance. But let's not guess just yet, okay? Because we have got step 2 to do. So we've done step 1. Let's look at step 2. Eliminate any inconsistencies. Are there any shapes or objects on these cubes that don't appear on the net? Have a look. What do you reckon? I don't think so. I don't think there are. I think that they're not inconsistent at all, which means actually now this is probably our toughest one, because for at least three cubes, we're gonna have to do some analyzing. Okay, so analyzing can be tricky. Some of the things that we're analyzing are more obvious than other things. Sometimes it's really tricky things that we're looking out for. Let's start at A. Can we rule A out for any reason? Is there anything going on in A which the net suggests should not happen? And of course, something that jumps out at me is, can you see this dotted line here? It's pointing to the smooth side of the hexagon. Now, imagine that in your head. imagine that you folded this net into a cube. It doesn't matter what happens, this dotted line is always going to be facing into the smooth edge of the hexagon, always. Okay, so it doesn't matter if we rotate it to the right, to the left, upside down, that dotted line should always be facing the smooth edge of the hexagon. And if you look at A, it isn't. It's facing away from it. So we can get rid of A. And we can get rid of E for exactly the same reason. You see that dotted line? It should be facing into that hexagon. Okay, so we'll get rid of E. And now we've given ourselves 2. So if we have to guess at this stage, 50-50 chance. Just by using these steps, we've got a 50-50% chance, okay? Which has given us a huge chance rather than 20% chance that we had at the start if we were to guess. But do we have to guess? Okay, let's have a look. So we've got B and D. Now, we said that the dotted line should be facing the top of the hexagon, and it is. So let's imagine that we're folding this net so it looks like this cube. That means that this section here would have to be folded downwards so it's on top, right? And then that hexagon would be outward facing. This diamond, if we were to fold this down, would come down with it and fall next to their hexagon. So B is looking pretty good. It looks like it's B to me, but if I ever do have another option that I haven't considered, I do think it's important we have a quick look just to make sure, okay? Because we may have made a mistake along the way, but I am pretty confident, but let's have a look anyway. So D, can we rule D out? If we can rule D out, we know B is our answer. And straight away, there's something that I've seen. Can you see that this arrow isn't pointing at the striped circle? It's pointing away from the striped circle. And once again, imagine it in your head. Doesn't matter what you do with that net. It doesn't matter how you fold it. That arrow isn't going to magically turn around and face that circle. There's nothing you can do, okay? In this option here, that arrow is facing the circle, okay? Which completely goes against what this net suggests, okay? This net has the arrow facing away from the circle. Even if we turned this net upside down and folded it up, or kept it the right way and folded it up, think about the arrow. It's going to turn relative to the circle, okay? So if we got this net here and turned it upside down, well, the arrow is going to be facing downwards with the circle on top, okay? Which is not what's happening here. So we can get rid of D. Now, so we've got the answer B. Now, remember one thing. With many types of net and cube questions, you can eliminate most of the answers just by the first 2 steps. You do have to work harder sometimes. If you get to step 3 and you've got more than one option left, you do have to put the effort in, but you have to put the effort in. Yeah, like we do have to work hard with these question types. They're not going to be easy. What I'm going to do, I usually put a worksheet in these videos. Now, designing cubes and nets is quite tricky. So I'm going to link you to a fantastic website, which will give you more of these questions. So please go to the website, which is in the description of this video. Click in the website, have a go at the questions. On this website, it tells you what the answers are. Please don't click on the answers until you've given it a go, right? When you've given it a go and you reveal the answers, if you're wrong, don't worry, but do check to see where you've gone wrong, because the way we get better at this is by checking where we've gone wrong. And if it turns out that you answer all the questions and they're all correct, brilliant. That's it. The job is done. Okay. So this is a tough type of question in the 11 plus exam. So don't worry if you found this whole video tough. Don't worry if you found this question tough, but do practice it. Okay. Thank you for watching and goodbye.